The massive Imperial warship hung in space like a metal mountain. Its dark hull reflected the distant light of Earth's sun, making it gleam like a deadly jewel. On its bridge, High Commander Marcus Rex smiled as he looked at the blue planet on his view screen. "Another primitive world to add to our collection," he said to his crew. "Look at them. They haven't even built proper space stations yet." His second-in-command, Captain Lewis, nodded in agreement. "Their technology seems to be at least 2 centuries behind ours, sir. Shall we begin the standard conquest protocol?" Before Rex could answer, every screen on the bridge suddenly went dark. The ship's engines stopped humming. Even the artificial gravity flickered for a moment. A single face appeared on their main screen. A human male wearing a simple blue uniform. His gray hair and stern expression spoke of years of experience. "This is Admiral James Walker of the Earth Defense Force," the man said calmly. "You are entering restricted space. Turn back now." Rex laughed. He actually laughed out loud, and his crew joined in. "A defense force? With what? We've scanned your planet. You barely have space flight." Walker's expression didn't change. "This is your only warning. Earth is forbidden to the Galactic Empire. Stay away." "Or what?" Rex stepped closer to the screen. "You'll throw rocks at us. Your species is barely out of its stone age compared to us." "We've been watching your empire for decades," Walker replied. "We know about the worlds you've conquered, the species you've enslaved, the civilizations you've destroyed." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We are nothing like them." Rex's smile faded slightly. Something wasn't right. Their scans should have detected any observation posts or spy satellites. "How dare you speak to me this way? Do you know who I am?" "Yes, you're the 7th High Commander to leave the Empire's expansion fleet. You replaced Commander Vale after his mysterious disappearance near the Centauri sector." Walker's eyes narrowed. "The same sector where you tested your planet-killer weapons on inhabited worlds." The bridge went silent. That information was top secret. Even most of the Empire's own military didn't know about those tests. "Impossible," Rex whispered. "You can't know that." "We know everything," Walker said. "We've let you play your games of conquest because you stayed away from our sector. But now you're here, and so we're giving you this one chance. Leave. Never return. Earth is off limits." Rex regained his composure and straightened his uniform. "You speak brave words for a primitive species. Perhaps we should send a diplomatic mission to discuss your surrender terms." Walker actually smiled for the first time. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "You mean the 3 heavily armed diplomatic ships hiding behind your moon? The ones with the missile bays open?" Rex's face went pale. Their stealth technology was the best in the galaxy. Nothing should have detected those ships. As a show of good faith, Walker continued, "We're giving you back control of your engines. You have 1 hour to leave our solar system. If you or any other Empire ship returns." He let the threat hang in the air. The screen went dark. Moments later, the ship's systems came back online. "Sir," Captain Lewis looked worried. "How did they take control of our ship? How did they know about the diplomatic fleet?" Rex stared at the blue planet below. Something was very wrong here. These humans were hiding something. Their scans showed a primitive civilization, but everything about this encounter suggested otherwise. "Send word to the diplomatic fleet," Rex ordered. "Tell them to hold position, and get me a secure channel to Imperial Command. They need to know about this." As his crew rushed to obey, Rex couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just made a terrible mistake. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, but something about Earth was different. These humans weren't afraid. They weren't impressed by Imperial technology. They weren't begging for mercy. They were giving orders to the Empire. And somehow, that terrified him more than any alien fleet ever had. 2 weeks after Admiral Walker's warning, a single Imperial ship approached Earth. It was smaller than the warship, painted in peaceful white and gold colors. The words Imperial Diplomatic Vessel glowed on its hull in multiple languages. Inside Earth's main defense center, Admiral Walker watched the approaching ship on a massive screen. Next to him, Commander Mary Ross shook her head. "They really think we can't see through their disguise," she said, pointing to her data tablet. "That diplomatic ship has enough weapons to destroy a small city." Walker nodded. "And their backup fleet is hiding just outside the solar system." He pressed a button on his command chair. "Time to show them what happens when you don't listen to warnings." The Imperial ship's captain, a tall man named Victor Prime, stood proudly on his bridge. "See how easily we fool these primitives. They're actually sending us landing coordinates." His weapons officer smiled. "Once we land, our hidden troops can secure their main government building. The Empire's oldest trick." Suddenly, their ship stopped moving. Not slowed down, just stopped, as if it had hit an invisible wall. "What's happening?" Prime demanded. "Engineering, report." Before anyone could answer, a blue field of energy appeared around their ship. It looked like a bubble made of lightning and mist. "Sir," the scanner officer's voice shook. "That energy field. It's like nothing in our database. It's not just holding us in place. It's taking us somewhere." The bubble of energy began to move, carrying the Imperial ship with it. As the crew watched in horror, they realized they were being pulled toward a hidden door in the side of Earth's moon, a door big enough to swallow their ship whole. Inside the defense center, Commander Ross allowed herself a small smile. Containment field working perfectly. Ready to begin Phase 2. Walker nodded. "Let's show our diplomatic friends what Earth's welcome looks like." The Imperial ship was gently deposited in a massive hangar inside the moon. As the crew stared through their windows, they saw something impossible. Dozens of advanced ships, some Imperial, some from other galaxies, all apparently captured and stored. A voice echoed through their ship. Admiral Walker's voice. "Welcome to Earth's Museum of Failed Invasions. You're our newest exhibit." Prime's face turned red with rage. "This is an act of war. Release us immediately." "Or what?" Walker's voice was calm. "You'll fire those hidden weapons. We disabled those an hour ago. Along with your emergency beacon, your self-destruct system, and that nasty biological weapon you hid in the cargo hold." The Imperial crew looked at each other in panic. Those systems were supposed to be undetectable. "Let me explain something," Walker continued. "Earth isn't primitive. We're just private. We've had interstellar technology for centuries. But unlike you, we chose to watch and learn instead of conquer." Screens came to life throughout the Imperial ship, showing images that made the crew gasp. Earth ships, perfectly cloaked, recording the Empire's atrocities. Earth agents, disguised as Imperial citizens, gathering intelligence. Earth's massive defense fleet, hidden in dimensional pockets around their solar system. "We've been studying you for decades," Walker explained, "learning your weaknesses, recording your crimes. And now that you've ignored our warning and invaded our space." He paused. "Now we have to deal with you." Prime tried to maintain his dignity. "The Empire will not stand for this. When our backup fleet arrives." "You mean the fleet that's currently watching a hologram of your ship landing peacefully on Earth?" Commander Ross's voice joined the conversation. "They'll report a successful diplomatic mission. Meanwhile, you and your crew will enjoy our hospitality while we decide what to do with you." In the defense center, Walker turned to Ross. "Send word to command. Tell them it's time to begin Operation Liberation. The Empire just gave us the excuse we needed." Ross nodded, her eyes serious. They thought they were starting a conquest. Instead, they just triggered their own downfall. Walker looked at the captured ship on his screen. They never learn. Every species they've conquered fought alone. But now, he smiled, now they've finally met someone who's been waiting for them. And we're not alone anymore. The Empire's diplomatic mission had failed, but for Earth, Everything was going exactly as planned. High Commander Rex paced in his command room aboard the Empire's largest battleship. 3 days had passed since losing contact with the diplomatic mission, and his patience was gone. "Launch the invasion fleet," he ordered. "Show these humans what happens when they defy the Empire." 1,000 ships jumped into Earth's solar system, their weapons ready. It was the largest attack fleet the Empire had assembled in 50 years. At its center was the Planet Breaker, a ship that could crack worlds in half. Admiral Walker sat calmly in Earth's moon base, watching the invasion force appear on his screens. Commander Ross stood beside him, drinking coffee. "They brought the Planet Breaker," she said. "Should we be honored?" Walker pressed a button on his chair. "Lieutenant Tom Miller, is your team ready?" "Yes, sir." Miller's voice came through clearly. "Operation Virus is ready to launch, just waiting for your signal." The Empire ships moved forward in perfect formation. On their bridges, captains waited confidently for the order to attack. Their scanners still showed Earth as a primitive planet with no real defenses. That's when everything went wrong. First, their weapons stopped responding. Then their engines died. Finally, their artificial gravity failed, leaving crews floating helplessly in their ships. "What's happening?" Rex shouted, holding onto his command chair as he floated. "Report." His technology officer stared at his screen in disbelief. "Sir, our ships, they're being hacked. But that's impossible. Our systems are unhackable." On the main screen, Admiral Walker's face appeared. He wasn't smiling. "You know," Walker said, "for an advanced empire, you really should update your computer security. It only took our AI systems 30 seconds to take control of your entire fleet." Rex's face turned purple with rage. "How dare you? We are the Empire. We—" "Yes, yes," Walker interrupted. "You're very impressive. That's why a single human computer virus just defeated your 1,000-ship fleet without firing a shot." In the moon base's control room, Lieutenant Miller's team watched as their virus spread through the Empire's ships. Years of secretly studying Imperial technology had paid off. "Sir," Miller reported, "we have full control of their systems, including the Planet Breaker." Walker nodded. "Commander Ross, would you like to deliver the message?" Ross stepped forward, her face appearing on every Imperial ship's screen. "Attention Empire forces. Your ships now belong to Earth. Your crews have 2 choices: surrender peacefully, or take a short spacewalk without suits." She paused. "You have 5 minutes to decide." It took 3 minutes for the first ship to surrender. After that, they fell like dominoes. In his command room, Rex watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was captured ship by ship. No weapons fired, no epic space battle, just the quiet humiliation of complete defeat. "How?" he whispered. "How can they be so far ahead of us?" Walker's face reappeared on his screen. "Because we learned from history. Earth had its own empires once. We learned that true strength isn't about who has the biggest guns. It's about who has the smartest plan." He touched a button, and Rex watched in horror as the Planet Breaker turned its weapons toward his ship. "Now," Walker continued, "let's discuss the Empire's unconditional withdrawal from Earth's space. And after that, we'll talk about all those enslaved worlds you've conquered." Rex slumped in his chair. The greatest fleet in Imperial history, defeated without a single shot fired. And somehow he knew this was just the beginning. In the moon base, Walker turned to Ross. "Send word to the resistance leaders on all Imperial-controlled worlds. Tell them Earth is ready to help. The Empire's reign of terror ends today." Ross nodded, then looked at the captured fleet on their screens. "They really should have listened to our warning." "No," Walker said, allowing himself a small smile. "I'm glad they didn't. Sometimes the best way to help people is to let your enemies make mistakes." The Empire had come looking for an easy conquest. Instead, they had started their own downfall. And Earth was ready to make sure they never threatened another world again. Commander Mary Ross stood before the United Earth Council, her uniform crisp and neat. Behind her, a massive screen showed images that made even hardened council members gasp. Imperial slave camps, destroyed worlds, and species pushed to the edge of extinction. "This is what the Empire has been doing for centuries," she said, her voice firm. "Now that we've captured their fleet, we found proof of everything." Council leader Thomas Gray leaned forward. "And you're certain these records are real?" "Completely." Ross pressed a button, and a new image appeared, a star map showing thousands of enslaved worlds. "We've confirmed it all. The Empire controls over 10,000 planets, and on each one, they're committing the same crimes." In the back of the room, Admiral Walker watched quietly. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for during all those years of secret observation. Leader Gray stood up. "Then we have no choice. Commander Ross, you have the Council's permission. Launch Operation Freedom." Within hours, Earth's hidden fleets emerged from their dimensional pockets, but they weren't heading to fight. They had a different mission. On the Imperial slave world of Proxima 3, the alien slaves worked in deep mines, guarded by Imperial troops. Suddenly, the guards' weapons stopped working. Their communication devices died, and from the sky, ships appeared, Earth ships. Lieutenant Tom Miller led the first rescue team. As his ship landed, he activated Earth's universal translator. "People of Proxima 3, his voice boomed across the mining complex. "We're from Earth. We're here to free you." The slaves couldn't believe it at first, but when the guards' armor systems shut down, leaving them helpless, hope began to spread. Back on Earth, Dr. Anna Harper worked in her lab, surrounded by captured Imperial technology. "Look at this," she said to Ross, who had come to check on her progress. "Their tech isn't actually that advanced. They just had a head start." Ross picked up what looked like an Imperial weapon. "Can you improve it?" "Already have." Harper smiled. "I've reprogrammed it to break their own shield systems. Every shot will disable their defenses instead of causing harm." "Perfect." Ross touched her communicator. "Admiral, the new weapons are ready. We can start distributing them to the resistance fighters." Across the galaxy, Earth ships appeared above enslaved worlds. Each time, the pattern was the same. Imperial technology would mysteriously fail, Earth forces would land, and slaves would be freed. The Empire tried to respond. They sent ships to crush the rebellions. But every time their ships jumped into battle, they found their weapons and engines shutting down, controlled by Earth's advanced AI systems. In his captured flagship, High Commander Rex watched helplessly as his empire began to crumble. "How?" he asked Walker, who appeared on his screen daily. "How did you do all this?" Walker's response was simple. "While you were busy conquering worlds, we were busy learning. Your empire grew through force. We grew through knowledge." On 100 worlds, former slaves watched in amazement as Earth ships landed, bringing food, medicine, and hope. The ships carried another gift too: data tablets containing all of Earth's history. "Learn from our mistakes," Ross told a group of freed aliens. "Earth once had empires too. We had slavery, wars, and corruption. But we grew past it. Now we're here to help you do the same." In the Earth Defense Command Center, Walker looked at the latest reports. A quarter of the Empire's worlds were already free. Resistance movements were springing up everywhere. And best of all, they were doing it with minimal violence. "You know what the Empire's biggest mistake was," he said to Ross as she joined him. "They thought advancement meant having better weapons. They never understood that true power comes from helping others rise." Ross nodded, watching the screens show more worlds declaring their independence. They wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, they gave us the chance to free the galaxy. The Empire had ruled through fear for centuries. But now they face something far more powerful than fear: hope. And Earth was making sure that hope spread to every corner of the galaxy. Lieutenant Tom Miller crouched behind a fallen pillar on the planet Rigel 6, his team spread out around him. Above them, Imperial warships fought desperately against their own automated defense systems, which Earth's AI had turned against them. Team 1 in position, he whispered into his communicator. Ready to breach the command center. Commander Ross's voice came through clearly. Proceed with caution. Intel suggests they're protecting something big in there. The Earth forces moved forward silently. Their advanced stealth suits, reversed engineered from Imperial technology, made them nearly invisible. But they weren't here to fight. They were here to find answers. Inside the command center, Imperial officers rushed to destroy evidence. But they were too late. Miller's team was already inside, their non-lethal stun weapons dropping guards before they could raise the alarm. Look at this, one of Miller's team members said, pointing to a massive computer screen. It's their secret archives. Miller's eyes widened as he read the files. Command, you need to see this. We've found their genetic modification labs. They've been experimenting on captured species. Back on Earth, Dr. Anna Harper reviewed the data Miller's team had found. This is worse than we thought, she told Admiral Walker. They weren't just enslaving species. They were trying to modify them, create perfect slaves. Walker's face hardened. Send the evidence to all liberated worlds. Everyone needs to know what the Empire was really doing. The response was immediate. Worlds that had been hesitating to join the rebellion now rose up in fury. The Empire's darkest secrets were exposed for all to see. On the Imperial capital world, the Royal Council met in emergency session. We must use the forbidden weapons, one counselor shouted. These humans have gone too far. High Commander Rex, now under house arrest, but required to advise the Council, spoke up. You don't understand. Earth isn't just beating us. They're outsmarting us. Every weapon we have, they've already studied and countered. As if to prove his point, alarms suddenly blared throughout the capital. Earth ships appeared in the sky, led by Commander Ross herself. But they weren't attacking. They were broadcasting. People of the Empire, Ross's voice echoed across the planet. Your leaders have lied to you. Today, you learn the truth. On every screen, on every planet in Imperial space, the evidence began to play. The secret labs, the genetic experiments, the destroyed civilizations, everything the Empire had hidden from its own people. The reaction was explosive. Imperial citizens, horrified by what had been done in their name, began to rebel. Military ships turned against their own command. Entire star systems declared independence. In Earth's defense center, Walker watched the Empire beginning to tear itself apart. Send in the relief ships, he ordered. It's time for Phase 2. Earth vessels landed on Imperial worlds, not with weapons, but with food, medicine, and technology. They'd brought something else too. The truth about Earth's history. We're not here to rule you. Miller told a crowd of former Imperial citizens, we're here to help you build something better. Earth had its own dark times. We had wars, slavery, and empires. But we learned, we grew, and we changed. Dr. Harper's voice came through Miller's communicator. Lieutenant, we've secured the last genetic lab. The test subjects. They can be restored. We can undo what the Empire did to them. Across the galaxy, the Great Liberation continued. But it wasn't just about freeing slaves anymore. It was about sharing knowledge, helping worlds rebuild, and teaching others how to avoid Earth's past mistakes. Commander Ross stood on the bridge of her ship, watching former Imperial worlds choose their own paths. Some formed alliances, others chose independence. All of them were free. You know what's remarkable? She said to Walker via hologram. We didn't have to fire a single shot to bring down their empire. Knowledge was more powerful than any weapon. Walker nodded. That's why they never understood us. They kept looking for our weapons, our fleets, our armies. They never realized that our greatest strength was what we learned from our own history. The Empire had wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, they had given humanity the chance to help free a galaxy. And this was only the beginning. Deep in the Empire's secret military base on their throne world, the last loyal Imperial scientists worked frantically. Their orders were clear: activate the Omega weapons, no matter the cost. The humans have pushed us too far, growled General Robert Black, the Empire's last supreme commander. If we can't rule the galaxy, we'll make them pay for taking it from us. The Omega weapons were the Empire's darkest secret, devices that could make stars go supernova. They had never been used, not even in the worst wars. Using them meant destroying entire solar systems. In Earth's defense center, Dr. Anna Harper's sensors detected the power surge. Admiral, they're powering up something massive. Energy readings are off the charts. Admiral Walker's face showed no fear, only determination. Send the signal to Lieutenant Miller's team. Execute Operation Shield. Across the galaxy, hidden Earth satellites activated. Years ago, Earth had discovered the Empire's Omega project. While the Empire thought they were building in secret, Earth had been preparing. On the Imperial throne world, General Black smiled as the first Omega weapon powered up. Target their colonies first. Let's see how brave Earth is when. He never finished his sentence. The weapon exploded, but instead of destroying its target, it created a massive energy shield around the entire solar system. Dr. Harper's voice came through on all Imperial channels. Did you really think we didn't know about the Omega project? We've been ready for this for years. Miller's team, hidden on the throne world, began their mission. As Imperial forces rushed to launch their remaining weapons, Earth's advanced AI systems took control of their networks. Sir, Miller reported to Walker, we've accessed their entire weapons grid. Dr. Harper's quantum shield is containing all the explosions. The Empire is only destroying their own systems. Commander Ross, leading the evacuation fleet, worked quickly to save as many Imperial citizens as possible. These are your leaders, her ships broadcast. They would destroy their own people rather than accept defeat. In his command center, General Black watched helplessly as his final weapons either failed or were contained by Earth's shields. Impossible. How could primitives like you defeat our greatest weapons? Walker's face appeared on his screen. Because we learned from our own history. Earth once had weapons that could destroy worlds. We chose to build shields instead, to protect life instead of ending it. The Imperial military, seeing their leaders willing to kill their own people, finally turned against them. General Black found himself arrested by his own guards. Dr. Harper worked with her team to safely disable the remaining Omega weapons. The quantum shields are holding, she reported. We can contain any more explosions. But the Empire had one last surprise. Hidden computers began launching automated warships loaded with devastating weapons. They shot out in all directions, targeting civilian worlds. They're trying to take as many innocent lives as they can, Ross said, watching the automated ships launch. Walker nodded grimly. Then we show them our last secret. Commander, initiate the mirror protocol. Suddenly, the automated Imperial ships froze in space. Their own targeting systems turned them around, making them fly back to Imperial military bases. The Empire's final weapons would strike only their own military targets. How fitting, Miller said, watching from his position on the throne world. Their own weapons, turned against them by their own targeting systems. In the aftermath, as Earth forces secured the last Imperial strongholds, Walker addressed the galaxy. The Empire chose destruction over peace, but Earth chooses a different path. We will help rebuild. We will share our shield technology. And we will make sure no one can ever use such weapons again. Dr. Harper looked at the data from the quantum shields. The technology worked perfectly. We can now protect any world from similar weapons. Commander Ross smiled. And more importantly, we showed the galaxy there's always a better way than destruction. The Empire's desperate final gamble had failed. Instead of destroying their enemies, they had only proved why Earth's path, protection over destruction, shields over weapons, was the true way forward. And across the galaxy, people looked to Earth not as conquerors, but as guardians who had saved them from their own leader's madness. 1 year after the Empire's fall, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in Earth's new space station. The massive structure, floating in neutral space, represented something the galaxy had never seen before: true cooperation between species. Admiral Walker stood at the main podium, looking at the diverse crowd before him. Former slaves sat next to former Imperial citizens. Species that once fought each other now worked together. Today, he began, we established the Free Systems Alliance. Not an empire, not a kingdom, but a partnership of equals. Commander Ross stood nearby, watching the security feeds. Some had worried about putting so many former enemies in one room. But the mood wasn't angry, it was hopeful. Lieutenant Miller, now heading Earth's diplomatic security, moved through the crowd. His team wasn't looking for weapons anymore. They were helping different species communicate, making sure everyone felt safe and heard. The signs around Earth will remain, Walker continued. Entry forbidden. Not because we fear you, but because we choose privacy. Earth will serve as guardian, not ruler. We will protect, but we will not control. Dr. Harper presented her latest work, Technology to Detect and Prevent Any Future Weapons of Mass Destruction. But unlike the Empire, Earth wasn't keeping the technology secret. They were sharing it. Each world must choose its own path, she explained to the gathered representatives. But we can all agree that some weapons should never be used again. Earth's shield technology is now yours to protect your people. In the space around the station, ships from 100 worlds floated peacefully. Former Imperial vessels, now painted in new colors, flew alongside ships of species they once hunted. Earth vessels patrolled quietly, their advanced technology now focused on keeping peace rather than winning wars. The former High Commander Rex, now a prisoner awaiting trial, watched the ceremony on a screen in his cell. I still don't understand, he said to Walker, who had come to see him. You could rule the galaxy. Why choose this path? Walker smiled. Because we learned from history, both yours and ours. Power isn't about control. It's about making the right choices. Across the galaxy, the changes were clear. The Empire's slave worlds were rebuilding, their people free to choose their own leaders. The great Imperial cities were being transformed into centers of learning and trade. Commander Ross led a tour of Earth's moon base, the same base where they had captured the Empire's diplomatic ship just 1 year ago. But now it wasn't a military facility. It had become a school, where species from across the galaxy came to learn from Earth's history and mistakes. The no-entry zone around Earth became famous, Ross told the visitors. People thought it was a sign of weakness, but it was wisdom. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is set boundaries. In Earth's Defense Center, Miller showed Walker the latest reports. The former Empire's territories were stabilizing. Trade routes were reopening. Species that had been enemies for centuries were signing peace treaties. It's amazing, Miller said. They just needed someone to show them another way. Dr. Harper's laboratories were busier than ever, but not with weapons research. Scientists from hundreds of worlds worked together, sharing knowledge that the Empire had kept separate for centuries. Earth's greatest gift wasn't our technology, she told a group of alien scientists. It was showing the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest. As the ceremony ended, Walker looked out at the stars. The entry forbidden signs around Earth's solar system still glowed bright, but they meant something different now. They weren't a warning to enemies, but a reminder that true strength comes from choice. You know what the Empire never understood, he said to Ross as they watched the representatives leave. The best way to lead is to show others how to stand on their own. The galaxy was entering a new age, not one of empires and conquest, but of cooperation and growth. And Earth, the planet that had once seemed primitive and weak, had shown them the way. The sign remained. Earth bans Galactic Empire. Entry forbidden. But now it stood as a symbol of hope, not fear. A reminder that sometimes the strongest borders are the ones we choose to maintain. And the greatest power is the power to help others rise.